Crew Transportation Collision Avoidance, CTCA, where the right way is the safe way. Module 5, Hazard Recognition. As we look at this traffic pattern, you probably see some familiar situations that you see daily when you're driving, probably not all at the same time, where you have vehicles trying to come out of parking lots or side roads. You have vehicles turning between stopped vehicles at a traffic light, vehicles making right-hand turns on red, which may not be safe at the time. What this training is going to do is help us to understand how to recognize these type hazards and then techniques and strategies to prevent those hazards from becoming collision. First, we want to stop texting and driving. You want to turn off the phone and drive. One of PTI's recommended methods is to stow the cell phone in the glove box. You ask yourself, what is distracted driving? According to Distraction.gov, distracted driving is defined as any non-driving activity a person engages in that has the potential to distract him or her from the primary task of driving and increase the risk of crashing. Driving is a skill that requires your full attention to safely control your vehicle and respond to events happening around you. Distractions are anything that takes your attention off the primary task of driving. There are two types of distractions. First type of distraction is a visual distraction, anything that takes your eyes off the road. The second type of distraction is a manual distraction, anything that takes your hands off the wheel. And the third type of distraction is a cognitive distraction, anything that takes your mind off driving. We're going to look at some statistics. Using a cell phone while driving, whether it's handheld or hands-free, delays the driver's reaction as much as having a blood alcohol concentration at the legal limit of 0.08%. 80% of all crashes and 65% of near crashes involve some type of distraction. Brain activity used while driving decreases by 40% when a driver listens to conversation or music. And more than 80% of drivers admit to blatantly hazardous behaviors, changing clothes, stirring with the foot, painting their nails, and shaving. So what can I do to reduce my risk of distractions? Being an undistracted driver is the safest way to drive. When drivers are undistracted, they're able to stay focused in the roadway and are aware of behaviors of other drivers on the road. These drivers stay focused, pay attention, and expect the unexpected. So you want to remember to buckle up. You want to hang up. You want to make sure you got your head up, and all that adds up to saving a life. Don't drive distracted. The life you save could be your own. You look at these individuals here, they were involved in accidents, some fatal. But these are individuals of our roadway community. They're someone's sisters, daughters, brothers, husbands, wives, children, best friends. So we want to make sure that we're never on a collage such as this one from having an accident from distracted driving. We're going to look at this dry cam event. I'll run it a couple of times. I just want you to see what this driver is doing that's unsafe. He takes his hand off the wheel, takes his eyes off the road, and he's probably got his mind on what he's drinking, so he's got his mind off of driving. So he's engaging in all three types of distraction. We're going to look at the lethal 7. The first is speed. The speed was estimated to be traveling 90 to 95 miles an hour when it struck a power pole, causing the vehicle to split in half and instantly killing the driver, a 32-year-old Navy petty officer. Can anyone tell me what type car that was or what color that car was? It was a fatal crash. Lethal 7, intersection safety. To reduce your chances of involving in an intersection collision, follow these 4 steps. Intersection safety formula. Know what's going on around your vehicle. Scan the intersection ahead. Know where you're going and how to get there. Know the laws regarding control devices and right-of-way. Show the other drivers what you're doing. Communicate your plans by lane position and turn signals. Go through the intersection when it's clear, safe, and your turn. Don't stay in the intersection too long and become a hazard. And slow down when approaching an intersection. Cover the brake with your right foot, reducing reaction time, and prepare to stop if you spot a hazard. Fatal 4 driving behaviors, right-of-way intersections. We're going to look at another dry cam event here. Tell us what this driver did in this dry cam event that could have maybe helped prevent an accident if he'd reacted differently. If he had been covering his brakes by slowing down, he could have reacted to that hazard and possibly stopped in that intersection to avoid the collision. Using and changing lanes. Before you start driving, you want to clean and adjust mirrors so that you can see where you're going. You want to keep a safe following distance. You want to scan ahead. You want to flash brake lights. You want to scan blind spots before changing lanes. When you're making turns, you want to make the less risky turn. And always remember, improper turns are one of the leading causes of accidents. If you look at the diagram at the bottom, you see where the destination of the driver in the blue vehicle is. A lot of us would make that left-hand turn to go directly to the destination, which is a very risky maneuver. But you could go down and you can make 3 right-hand turns across the intersection, which does not have a stop sign, but still cover your brakes as you proceed through it, and end up at your destination without having to make a left-hand turn. To avoid rear collisions, you want to look at where you may more likely be hit from the rear, so you'll know what to do to avoid it. You may be hit from the rear while stopped at intersections, while driving through construction zones, when making abrupt stops, while driving during adverse weather conditions. To avoid being hit from the rear, consider doing the following. Know what's behind you. Adjust your mirrors before moving the PTI vehicle or any vehicle, and scan them frequently. Keep your rear window clean. Head-on collisions. The most common cause of head-on collisions are wrong-way crashes, one going the wrong way on the road, someone avoiding debris, or a stopped vehicle by suddenly swerving, passing incorrectly on a 2-lane road, falling asleep and drifting into oncoming traffic when behind the wheel, speeding and speeding around curves, not seeing, reading, or following road sign instructions, and driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, driving while distracted by texting, using cell phone, etc., or driving during adverse weather conditions. So in a head-on collision, it's the most fatal type of traffic accident. You have only a few seconds to make a decision and get out of the way quickly if another vehicle is heading straight towards you. The National Safety Council recommends to avoid a head-on collision, you use the 4 R's. You want to read the road ahead. Look around your vehicle. Look up to the next hill, curve, or overpass to be aware of your surroundings and other vehicles. Communicate with other drivers using your horn and headlights. You want to drive to the right. If you see an oncoming vehicle nearing the center line, begin to brake and drive slightly to the right of your lane. The closer the other car comes to your vehicle, the further you must move to the right. This will put you in a position to be seen sooner by oncoming vehicles intending to pass, and for you to be closer to the right of your escape route to the right. Reduce your speed. Reduce your speed for any hazard or oncoming vehicle in your lane. By reducing speed, you lower the energy of the car and therefore increase your control. And then you want to ride off the road. Be prepared to drive completely off the road. Drive, don't skid off the road. If you skid, you lose control. So don't lock your brakes. Look where you want to go and follow the path of least resistance. Remember, it's natural to aim the car where you're looking. Avoid tailgating. To get rid of a tailgater, you want to slow down gradually or remove your foot from the gas. If the tailgater doesn't move, change lanes safely. Use extra caution when slowing down or changing lanes, and don't let your tailgater distract you. If the vehicle suddenly swerves into your lane, you may have to brake hard, exposing you to a possible rear collision. Begin to brake well in advance of your need to stop to alert the drivers behind you that the traffic is slowing, which gives them more time to react. We're going to look at the total stopping distance here. It varies as a function of speed, condition of the driver, the road, the weather, and the vehicle. To determine the average stopping distance of a vehicle, when all conditions are good, you want to add the reaction time and the braking time. You want to use a 4-second following rule, which will give you adequate following distance to use these measurements to brake safely. When you got problematic conditions, such as snow, rain, or it's night, you want to add a second for each condition, and then you'll be using the 4-second plus rule. 4-second rule. 4-second safe following distance is recommended. To see if you're at a safe distance, pick a landmark, reference point like a tree, shadow, or light post. When the vehicle in front of you passes your chosen landmark, start counting. If you pass the landmark before you can count to 4, you're following too close. Plus, you want to add a second for raining, snowing, low visibility, nighttime, construction zones, rural areas, and being tailgated. You want to add 4 seconds. Therefore, you're putting the stopping distance needed in front of your vehicle. So if you have to stop, you can gradually come to a stop, which will give the tailgater room to stop behind you if they're paying attention. What is GOAL? GOAL is goal. Get out and look. Safe backing procedure. Unless you're working for a company that's contractually approved, we never bag a crew on board at PTI. So you want to check with your manager and make sure that if you're working for a customer, and the only customer currently we have that you can bag a crew is BNSF, and you must do a crew briefing and make sure you execute the proper procedure to bag a crew on board. If you have BNSF crew on board, you want to ask one of the crew members to get out and act as a spotter for you. Any other railroad, you must ask the crew members to exit the vehicle. You must get out the vehicle, walk 360 degrees around the vehicle, checking under the vehicle, where you're backing to, making sure there's clearances around, below, and above the vehicle. When you need eyes in the back of your head, 1 out of every 4 accidents in the transportation industry is a backing accident. PTI believes the best advice about backing is to avoid backing, avoid doing it whenever you can. However, it is not always possible. Knowing how to back and utilizing sound judgment will make the backing maneuver easier and safer to conduct. PTI has placed much emphasis on proper backing. However, we still experience backing accidents occasionally. So tips to avoid backing accidents. Avoid the backing maneuver whenever possible. Always back in to avoid backing out. Utilize a spotter when possible, but you are responsible for the equipment. You're the operator. Walk around the area that you plan to park the vehicle. Estimate clearances on all around the vehicle. Check them as many times as necessary. When getting out of the van multiple times is necessary if needed. So if you're doing a long backing maneuver, you may exit the van multiple times to walk around the van and look at your surroundings. Back from the left side when you can. This is your seeing side. Remember to check both sides frequently. And you want to creep into the desired parking place. In other words, back slowly. Think in advance. You want to try to position vehicles so you don't have to back up. You want to choose an easy exit parking spot that don't crowd neighboring vehicles. You want to back into the space as possible when parking. And you want to back to the left if possible so you can see objects on the driver's side. Do a walk around. Conduct a circle of safety walk around to look for hazards. Get back into the vehicle as soon as possible. Look over your shoulder. Check with both mirrors. Give 2 horn blasts before backing up. How could this accident and this strike-in event be prevented? If you thought by the driver not putting himself in that situation, you're 100% correct. You want to know clearances. There are 6 dimensions of a vehicle: the front, the back, the left, the right, above, and below. Walk around, you'll identify obstructions, low-hanging branches, poles, or clearance-related problems. Be vigilant of the vehicle's blind spots. Do your best backup solutions. Park defensively to minimize the need to back up. Take a moment to get a spotter to assist. Practice situational awareness. If you encounter aggressive driving is driving in a selfish, bold, or pushy manner without regard for the rights or safety of other users of the roadway. Aggressive driving is a ticketable offense and causes over 50% of all crashes. If you find that you've become aggravated or you're choosing unsafe, aggressive behaviors, try using these 3 steps. Reflect. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way or choosing this behavior? Is this something I can control? Reframe the situation. Create a more positive and safe situation. For example, it could be worse. And refocus. Think about something else, not the situation that's causing you stress. Remember, road rage is a crime, and it's defined as using your vehicle with the intent to do harm. Road rage is considered assault with a motor vehicle or other dangerous weapon by the operator or passenger of one motor vehicle on the operator of a passenger or another motor vehicle. Some tips for road rage: do not react or retaliate to the other driver on the road. Avoid eye contact and continue to practice safe driving habits. And if it does not look like this problem is going away, you want to dial 911 safely.